Hello and welcome to day 2 of Jam Camp. Today we'll be going over some tips regarding virtual state competition. First, here are some general suggestions to make your presentations more polished. Even though this is a virtual presentation, you still want to dress professionally, although only waist up is most likely necessary. Make sure that your face is visible. It's recommended that your entire face, as well as your neck and the upper portion of your shoulders are visible, but face is a bare minimum. Don't hide in the corner of the screen so your judge isn't able to see you talking. That definitely won't benefit your rubric grade. Also, make sure that your face is visible and well lit. So position any lights you have in front of your face and avoid any lighting directly behind you. So if you're sitting in front of a window, close the window so the sunlight isn't too harsh on the camera. Also, try to have a professional looking background, but if you're unable to, you can use a professional looking virtual background instead. You can find some cool DECA virtual backgrounds on DECA Direct if you would like to use those ones. And the most important tip, at least in my opinion, is to start early and give yourself plenty of time before the deadline to submit. It will take more than your 10 or 15 minutes allotted for a presentation to record and submit, because your computer needs to process the video, you'll need to upload to Google Drive, apply visibility, and paste the link to the website. So don't wait until the last minute. Next, here are some tips to help you stand out to a judge. If you attended the judge feedback session during district conference, you may recognize some of these pointers. These are tips from real judges who graded your virtual presentations at district, so they're right from the source. Alright, first, eye contact is extremely important. In an in-person roleplay setting, it's always recommended to make eye contact with the judge whenever possible. But through your computer screen, it may seem a bit more difficult to make this work, but it's actually not that bad. All you need to do is try to look near or at the camera, because your camera is going to be what's recording your face, so that'll be the angle from which your judge sees you. Now, it may not be the easiest to try to look at the camera the whole time if you're trying to look at your screen for your visuals or to see zoom. So what you can do is to split screen your computer so that whatever you need to look at, like your visuals that you're screen sharing, are on the top half of your screen if the camera is above your screen. This will force your eyes to be closer to the camera and more closely simulate eye contact. Another important tip is to smile. Judges enjoy watching presentations that are personable and vivid. Smiling shows your enthusiasm and spreads your positive attitude. Through your voice and smile, you also want to try to convey passion, excitement, and confidence. I know this isn't the easiest, but you have as many attempts as needed to get this down. You can practice on Zoom to get the right energy and expressions down before you do your final recording. You also want to enunciate clearly and keep a good pace, not too fast and not too slow. Remember, you can always redo your take if you run out of time, so there's no need to talk too fast, which is a more common speaking speed mistake. You can also keep a timer on your computer or on any other device so you know how much time you have left. Lastly, try not to be stiff, monotone, or quiet. This is similar to the previous points, but basically being low energy and sounding unenthusiastic doesn't paint a great picture for your judge. Try to speak up and sound vivid. Now we'll go over visuals. Some reminders based on the rules are that any visuals you use may not contain any links to external sources like articles, videos, contact information, etc. For roleplay events, your visuals may not use color, and you can't import any images, graphs, or videos. Basically, you're limited to the basic functions of Microsoft Word or Google Docs, including text, basic shapes, and tables. Try to use your visuals to aid your performance indicators. Remember, performance indicators are a huge part of your score, usually about 60%, so try to use your visuals to emphasize them. This can be done through text, like highlighting certain key phrases or vocabulary terms associated with the PI. You can also use visuals to include business terminology and processes, like a SWOT or pest analysis, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and the marketing mix. Not just mentioning these, but including these in text and elaborating them when you're presenting like maybe doing a flowchart or a table, can help you score points. Lastly, here are some tips regarding team events. If you're not doing a team event, then this is essentially the last slide of the video, and we'll catch you in later episodes. Okay, back to team events. The first tip is to smoothly transition between partners. This means to avoid any awkward pauses, and teammates can cue to each other that it's their turn by using phrases like, now my partner will cover our proposed strategy, or by simply pausing and let the other teammate speak. You can coordinate speaking times through planning and practice, and if it doesn't work out the first time, feel free to redo it until you get it down. Also, interact with each other. This goes back to the previous slide of being vivid and personable. Act like a team collaborating on this presentation and working together, not two or three people taking turns saying their separate lines. Also, a small reminder that the team captain should be the one to record, but anyone can screen share. Regardless, the person screen sharing needs to know when to scroll down or switch tabs or whatever is necessary for their Google Doc or Microsoft Word. So make sure the team members let that person know when to do any shifts necessary. Lastly, each team member should have roughly similar amounts of speaking. This doesn't mean that you have to time it to the second for each person to have exactly the same speaking time, but try to make sure the speaking times are at least a little balanced and that one person isn't doing all or most of the speaking. You can have team members take turns discussing different topics in small chunks. It's usually best not to have one person talk for too long of a time period. For example, if you have a 10-minute presentation window, try not to have one person speak for 5 minutes straight and the other for 5 minutes straight, but rather one teammate will talk for a bit, the next talks for a bit, and then back to the first one, and so on and so forth. All right, this wraps up today's episode of Champ Camp. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If not, we'll see you tomorrow.